and he's going to house it.
It's amazing. Absolutely amazing.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another Angle of Pursuit podcast, your fantasy football, sports betting, and NASCAR home. I am your host, Kyle Robert. You follow me on Twitter at NotoriousKRO. With me, with the regular season in the books, getting ready for the wild card round. It's playoff time, Brian Twining. It's Brian Twining. What's up, Brian?
What's up, Kyle? Yeah, the playoffs are finally here. The 18-week season felt as fast as ever, as crazy as that sounds. I know they added a week, but the NFL regular season always seems to fly by. I'm really excited to get into this playoffs. I mean, we really didn't see a single team outside of maybe the Packers look like a dominant force, and even they have holes in their armor. This playoffs could wind up going down as one of the most crazy and bizarre.
Yeah, we'll talk about all that. We'll make our predictions. We'll go game by game, give you all of our thoughts, spreads, totals, props, all that good stuff. But before we do that, if you've been enjoying the show, if you've been riding with us all season, we want to thank you so much. We hit 300 subs over on YouTube. If you've yet to smash the subscribe button and you've been riding with us, please do that. If you're joining us for the playoffs and you're starting to enjoy the content, make sure you hit subscribe. It really does do a lot for our show. We're not going anywhere. We're here with you through the Super Bowl. We'll also have NASCAR content, and then throughout the off season, and then obviously once season gets rolling again, we'll be here. We'll also try and mix in some college basketball, maybe some PGA. Who knows? So if you like betting, if you want to ride with us, year round 365. Hit that subscribe button. If you're joining the show and you have not clicked that thumbs up button, please do that. And let us know down in the comments, Super Bowl, who's playing, who's winning, AFC team, NFC team, and then a winner. So let us know down there where you're going with that. But with that out of the way, Brian, I do want to recap really quickly. Week 18, that was, guess what I did, Brian? Despite making a ton of bets, I win exactly 500 because that's what I've done down the stretch. It's been
better than me.
Oh, yeah, let me fix that. Yeah, because that's what I do. I don't understand, like no matter what, so I was on the Chiefs in the early first quarter, first half. That was real dumb. Niners was down 17-0. I felt, oh God, here we go. Not only they come back and cover, but they won outright. Shouts to them. Yeah. Bengal Tigers come through. Covered that number.
Falcons, I guess the Katy Perry intro didn't affect them for the long term.
Weird. Never would have guessed. Falcons are just I'm not betting them. I can't get them right. Can't get them wrong. I just can't. Bucks should have took them for the second half, not the first half. That was real dumb. Seattle, I got the points. I should have took the money line. Apparently, I didn't think they would get there. Shouts to our fish.
That's
getting
right.
It done on the field, plus 240.
And then they go out and they fire Brian.
Yeah,
Ford.
bad teams stay bad for a reason. They're a poorly run organization making
what the F are they doing?
Making really dumb decisions. Bad teams are bad.
God.
Speaking with a Kings fan and a Knicks fan,
yeah,
bad teams stay bad for a reason. Ownership starts at the top. Chargers, man, that was a swift kick in the nuts. I don't know what's going on with that team. We'll agree to disagree about Brandon Staley and his play calling, and going for it and not going for it. But yeah, and then the Colts, like what?
Oh my God,
losing outright, man! I should have taken the Jags money line. That was
honestly, I feel like that is quite possibly the biggest upset that we've seen in quite some time in the NFL. Knowing what was on the line for the Colts and how big of favorites they were there, I did not see that coming.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing I do we can kind of go back and go through the whole season. Carson Wentz stinks. I've been on the Carson Wentz stinks train, and this was just another showing. Justin Herbert's rushing to, or Jonathan Taylor's rushing yardage was set at 115.5. That was way too aggressive. I did not think they would lose, but that ended up coming through. Justin Herbert didn't run, so that stunk. The Colts getting their butt kicked by the Jags ended up Laquan Treadle ended up like 30 yards instead of 41 and a half. And my best bet, the Buffalo Bills, 16 and a half, came through. So a very average week.
When in doubt, attack the Jets.
100%. You also rolled with KC in the first half. That did not go well.
Trash.
Your teaser did not go well. Where did we go wrong? Oh,
Good
the
job,
over.
Cardinals.
Oh, the Cardinals. Yeah, the Cardinals
Bums.
should have won. They got, yeah, I don't know what. So they'll be a team to be interesting to look at. Your Colts first half, obviously not so much. Shouts to my Titans for winning and locking up the number one overall seed in the AFC. And now everyone's dunking on us like we're some bad team that's never gonna win anything.
People
Despite
are forgetting you're getting the king back.
we're
Like
our bad games have come with bad players. Our good games have come with our good players. We beat Kansas City. We beat the Rams. We beat, I think the only playoff we beat the Niners. We beat the Colts should have been a playoff team, but I think the only playoff team that beat us was Arizona, and that was back in week 1 or week 2, and
yeah,
we didn't know what we were doing. So,
I
you
don't want
had
to
the
talk about Tampa
Ravens,
right now.
not so much. Saints Falcons under, not so much. The Vikings won and won.
That game was so bizarre, but leave
Yeah.
it to Minnesota to play a game where they look like crap and actually wind up winning pretty convincingly at the end.
Yep. And the Chiefs not like being super dominant despite
Yeah.
playing all 4 quarters was kind of interesting too. I did like Denver for the full game, and we said to take them live. Now, you probably wouldn't have got as good a number because Denver hung in there, but that we were both, I think, simpatico long term about that game. But and then Byron Pringle, I took Tyreek Hill receiving yards. Did not expect him to stand on the sidelines for 95% of that game. You were on Justin Herbert rushing. That didn't work. Dak
Dak played a
Prescott.
lot more than I anticipated, I gotta say.
You took Dak under 199 and a half passing yards.
That's what it
Because they
closed at.
expected. All right, so Brian, overall on the season for 18 weeks, I went 79, 71, and 2, 52.6%, almost 53. I will take that over the course of the year. Not the greatest, but definitely a little bit profitable. You went 65, 76, 46%. It was a very weird year for you. You started off scorching hot. You pretty much went to Antarctica. It was super cold. And then you rebounded a little bit at the end. So very, very, very interesting. It would be interesting to put some, kind of real dollars, because hitting some of those money lines that we hit and some of the props versus some of the teasers to see kind of how those folded out over the course of the year. But all in all, not too shabby. Definitely a decent season. I think together we did all right, and
We had
now it's
our
on to the
moments
playoffs.
for sure.
I went back through our win totals and some of those picks. We had some great picks there. We had some terrible picks there. It was interesting. We can do a whole season recap at some point. But Brian, before we do anything with the wild card games, let's take a quick look at the season long. Now that we have the playoffs set, now that we know who's making it, um, let's look at some lines. Let's make some predictions. And let's see if we can't predict the Super Bowl play teams that are playing and the teams that are winning. I guess I'll give you the tea. Where's your head at? What are you thinking about? I'll pull up the some odds over on DraftKings, give you some ideas of what we may be looking at. But yeah, where's your head at in terms of, I'm telling you, you have to pick the AFC rep, the NFC rep, and the winner. Where are you going?
Man, this playoffs is a lot more difficult than I thought it was going to be, especially because it was hard to determine which teams were playing dominant football right now, where there's some glaring weaknesses. And, for me, looking at the AFC, which was the first conference I decided to jump into, I feel like it's going to be chalk. almost here. I feel like we're destined for a Tennessee Kansas City AFC Championship game. Now, with this game being played in Tennessee and with the weather likely to be really cold, that kind of plays into exactly the way that the Titans want to play football. My worry, though, is that we've seen this before out of the Chiefs the last couple of years. They show some holes on defense, and then come playoff time, this defense gets revved up, and we've seen it over the last half of the season. This Chiefs defense is playing tremendously good. As not to discount what Tennessee's doing, but I don't see. I can't pick against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. Like,
completely fair, especially considering the Titans have already beat him once.
Yeah, that's my
It
worry. Now
terrifies me, the
they have an
idea of
extra
having
preparation.
to beat him not once, but beat him twice.
Yeah, my only worry with the Chiefs there is that Tyreek Hill is not the same. He's clearly dealing with an ankle injury, which will come into play against better teams. And Travis Kelce has been slowed lately, but I mean, Tyreek Hill kind of taking the week off last week was probably planned with the playoffs in mind. And it doesn't matter who's playing running back for them, because Darrell Williams is more than adequate when filling in for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. So for me, I'm going chalk in the AFC with Tennessee and Kansas City. Now, with you being a Titans fan, how do you feel about that conference?
Yeah, so let's stay in the AFC and I'll give you my thoughts. I feel like the Titans are like a 7 seed, the way people are talking about them.
Yeah,
like they even be in the playoffs. Like what is this team doing? And I know they had a horrendous loss to the Jets and a horrendous loss to Houston. But the team this is still a good team that beat the Rams, that beat the Niners, that beat the Chiefs, that beat the Colts twice, that beat Buffalo. Like, they beat all the teams that are in the playoff. Like, a lot of good teams, like a lot of important teams. I'm trying to figure out, because obviously, like, the lowest seed advances, right? So we really have to figure out who's advancing. If we assume chalk holds up and the Bills and the Chiefs win, and then so they're playing the winner of the Bengals Raiders, I think that's a great thing for Tennessee, because I think there's a very real shot Buffalo beats Kansas City the way Kansas City is currently constructed. And if they don't, then the Bills are out, assuming, obviously assuming the Bills go. We could be in a situation where New England's coming to Tennessee, and obviously my Mac Jones hate is salivating at the idea, but I also know it's Bill Belichick, it's the playoffs, it's I don't know. So I feel like this is like, obviously the bye is incredible, getting a really good spot. Like, if the Titans don't go to the AFC Championship, at minimum, I'll be extremely disappointed in the season. And then it's just a 1-game sample size from there. The one thing I will say, and I was telling Brian a little bit about this, I currently have 2 futures. I have one on the Titans to win the Super Bowl. I have one on the Niners to win the Super Bowl. And I have a Titans to win the Super Bowl and Titans to win the AFC and Niners to win the NFC ticket that I'm currently holding. So, take my thoughts and my opinions how you want to see, in that. I'm also a Titans fan. So I try to be, my goal is to make money and to win bets and give you guys my honest feedback. And if I think the Titans suck, I will tell you that, but I think they are getting healthy and they were progressing to be the best team at the right time. And, we were talking a little bit about the Chiefs. They're a little banged up. Some of these other teams have some serious issues. Now, there's also a world where Cincinnati comes to town. Our secondary, which is the Titans secondary, which is one of the weakest parts. Joe Burrow throws for 369. T. Higgins catches 2 touchdowns. Jamar Chase catches 2 touchdowns. And we're done. Like, that's it. So that's a very real world. I think the way things set up, they're in a prime position. I am picking them to come out of the AFC.
Nice. Yeah. See, I wanted to hit on the Bengals real fast before we transition to the NFC, because I feel like they are the darling of the public right now, because they're kind of that, like, glitz and glamour team where they got all these wide receivers. Joe Burrow is slinging it all over the field. Joe Mixon is really good, but don't forget, this offensive line still sucks.
Yep.
And they've shown a couple of times this year where if you get pressure on Burrow, they're going to make mistakes. They're not going to be able to be efficient on offense, and they're going to get behind really fast, and then they're trailing, and then they start creating more negative plays than they can sustain in order to win. So that's my big worry with Cincinnati.
I think we'll talk more about that game here in a minute when we switch over to Saturday, because I think there's a lot to get into in that game. I think there's a lot of very, very, very interesting kind of back and forth. If we switch over and talk the NFC, where does your head go? And are we talking chalk donkeys again? And Aaron Rodgers is going to be discount double checking in LA in the Super Bowl, or do we have maybe something else going on there?
I hate doing it because we talk about this. If you've been following us or you've been watching our shows for since the beginning or even throughout this year, you know that we are not front runners. I hate betting on the favorites, but I feel like the NFC is going through Lambeau. I know they're not the perfect team, but they're getting healthier on defense. Jair Alexander's coming back for them, and that defense has been playing really good without one of the best corners in football. They're getting Zadarius Smith back practicing, which is possibly their best front seven player, which now adding with Rashawn Gary, who has turned out to be a really good pass rusher. That just adds to this defense. I feel like the NFC, you're going to see it's not going to go chalk. Like I see a world where all of the lower seeds win this week, even Philly potentially upsetting Tampa. I mean, I don't think it's going to happen, but there is definitely a scenario where they're able to mess up what Tampa does. And we see all the lower seeds in the NFC advance, leaving Green Bay with a pretty, I don't want to say easy path, but all they got to do is take care of business, not F up, and they're going to be playing in LA.
Yeah, see, I think the AFC is much more cut and dry. I think it's either Kansas City or Buffalo are like pretty much the favorites, and then
Outside of
Tennessee kind of is
yeah.
the third team there.
Yeah.
I think my expectation is the winner of the Niners in Dallas is your representative for the Super Bowl.
And I can get on board with that, but as a Cowboys fan, as a pessimist,
and we can talk more as we get into that game too, because the upside of Dallas week to week, especially with that turnover capability and the power of that offense,
true.
They could, if they can stay hot for a month, they could destroy every team in their path and win the Super Bowl easily. The problem is they are wildly inconsistent, and Mike McCarthy is their coach. So It's really hard for me to get there.
Imagine the storylines though in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah,
if it's in Green Bay.
Yeah, I mean Mike McCarthy returning home. I think Dallas can go into Green Bay and win. I think the Niners can go into Green Bay and win. I don't know about the Rams, and I don't know about Arizona, and obviously we'll talk more about them. But I mean, I have my bet, and maybe I'm a little jaded, but I think the Titans beat the Niners in the Super Bowl. That's my pick.
I honestly, for me, I feel like the Niners, outside of any of the top three seeds from either conference, I think the Niners offer the best potential for a team seated lower than 2 or 3 to potentially raise the trophy at the end of the year, because they are built to win anywhere. They're very similar to Tennessee. I feel like they're slightly more explosive on offense with Deebo Samuel, Elijah Mitchell healthy, Brandon Ayuk finally coming on, George Kittle. Like, this team has a top 10 offense per talent-wise, and their defense has been playing really good of late. So San Francisco for me is that dark horse out of the NFC that could potentially get out of there and compete with whoever comes out of the AFC.
And if you want to ride with me on that bet, you can over at our friends over at DraftKings. You can have the Titans beat the Niners at 100 to 1, and the Niners to beat the Titans at 80 to 1. I was just looking. Titans beating Dallas is 60 to 1, and Dallas beating Tennessee is, where's Dallas beating Tennessee? Dallas beating Buffalo is 55. Dallas beating Titans is 50. So, there's some fun. If you have a strong feeling about a couple teams, you could find some interesting value. Obviously, with my bet, I don't have to have one team win. I just have to have both of them get there. So, little more flexibility in my outcome. Brian, let's switch over. We've gone 20 minutes and we've rambled about a lot of stuff, but let's get into these games and let's give these people some winners. And we're just going in time order. So if you're joining the podcast late, I will have time codes. Everything will be set up, and we'll start with that Raiders Bengals, because you said you feel like the Bengals are the popular, everyone thinks that they're good side, and I think everyone likes the Raiders. I think people love what they saw. They remember what they saw last. They have questions about the Bengals. They see the Raiders as a fun team that just won big on, to get into the playoffs. And this line opened at 6.5. It's now down to 5 or 5.5, depending on where you look. And based on 20,000 bets, the Raiders are getting 49% of the bets and 91% of the money, which is pretty insane splits.
Ooh, that's crazy.
So maybe and as someone who's already bet the Bengals, maybe I'm trying to convince myself that those numbers are incorrect. Because it's basically an even split in terms of bets, but significant amount of money on the Raiders.
Yeah, even though I did say I feel like Cincinnati in the AFC, outside of the recency bias that the Raiders are getting with that crazy game on Sunday Night Football, are kind of that darling, because they have the star power on offense. They can create turnovers on defense. The storylines behind Jamar Chase, Joe Burrow, being best friends in college and now in the NFL. If they were to advance here, I feel like they automatically become the talk of the AFC.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm allowing this line to kind of get lower because I don't think the Raiders can stay with Cincinnati on either side of the ball. The Bengals defense has been really good. The Raiders, outside of Darren Waller, really don't have anything that threatens you on the outside. In Cincinnati, where it's going to be extremely cold, it'll be interesting to see if the Raiders get the benefit of any more of those throw up balls, as Jerry Jones likes to say. And Cincinnati can play that game too with their three high flyers on the outside. Yeah. So I'm with you on the Bengals here, laying the spread. I like Cincinnati to put up a decent amount of points here. And looking back, these two teams played a few weeks ago, in mid-November, and Cincinnati dominated the game, really. I mean, they won by...
So that's the thing. So it was the final score was 32-13, making it look like a blowout. But in the fourth quarter, the Bengals did score 19 points to just 7 for the Raiders, making it look a lot more lopsided. At the end of the third quarter, it was 13-6. At the end at halftime, it was 10-6. So this really, for me, it depends on how you see this game going. Do you think there's a lot of Joe Mixon and Josh Jacobs and really slow game plan and, not really testing the Raiders as much as they probably should? Then, I think the Raiders are very much in play, and I think a money line play on Oakland or Vegas makes a lot of sense. Now, if you think, the Bengals are going to open things up a little bit more, we've seen it, against Kansas City. They throw it, that gives them a shot. Now, Joe Burrow is amazing against the blitz, and the Raiders don't really blitz. They're comfortable with their front four getting home, which means they can drop those linebackers. They can add an extra corner or extra safety. And not necessarily, while they're not great, in terms of coverage, having just a bunch of people back there, I think will definitely be a nice weapon. And then on the offense, the Raiders get Darren Waller back. They have Hunter Renfrow. It just really comes down to, does Derek Carr make dumb plays or does Joe Burrow make great plays? And that's how this game's going to go.
Yeah. The only reason why I'm comfortable laying the points with Cincinnati here is that we've seen the Bengals compete with kind of upper echelon teams, whereas the Raiders, they've done it in instances, but I mean, you've seen them get blown out. They're very inconsistent on offense. One game, Derek Carr looks great. He's slinging it all over the place, and the running game is looking really good. The next game, they can't run the ball for crap, and it's all on Derek Carr's shoulders. He looks completely out of sorts. And that's kind of what I see here. I mean, the last time these two teams played, the Raiders only ran for like 70 or 75 yards. And if they can't get the running game going and you have to put the game solely on Derek Carr's arm, all the Bengals got to do is get in his face, because it's well known throughout the league and by fans alike that he is not good when pressure is put in his face. And that's where Cincinnati could really turn this game over and then just ride Joe Mixon all the way to the win and, by 7 or 8 or something covering this line.
Yep, and if you look at the Raiders, they've won 4 in a row coming into this game, but it's against a Chargers game that was really weird, and all the Chargers receivers forgot how to catch the ball.
Well, and it's
Before
the
that,
Chargers.
it was the Colts and Carson Wentz, who just lost to the Jacksonville. It's clearly their season. Denver with Drew Lock under center. Browns with Nick Mullins under center.
Exactly.
Before that, they lost to Kansas City 48-9. They lost to the football team. They beat your Cowboys. So it's the thing with the Raiders is when they played Dallas, when they played a primetime game against the Chargers, they popped in a big way, and I think a lot of people have that. But yeah, I think you really need to think about how you see this game going and finding ways to attack it. Like, I think the over is very much in play if you like Bengals. If you like the Raiders, I think it's under City. I think both teams run the ball. Keep it. You could look at some, obviously we'll mix in some props as well. But Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs carries could make a lot of sense if you think it's going to be a closer, low scoring game. But I think we're both comfortable taking the Bengals, and the Bengals -5 will be on my betting card.
I'm actually staying in this game. I actually like the Bengals to light up the scoreboard early on in this contest, knowing that the Raiders are not built to really play in those shootout type of games from behind. Yeah. Yes, last week's game was a high-scoring affair, but if they get put behind, you're putting them in a position to play offense the way they don't want to. So I like Cincy over 13.5 in the first half.
And the Raiders also just played an overtime game on the last game of the slate, and now they're the first game of the playoff slate.
The NFL doing them no favors.
Yeah. Which my Raiders friends group chat is they're very 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 happy about that. I did want to throw out a few nuggets, and I'll try and mix them in as we go. So first-time starters have 38.5% have covered 38.5% of the time, including 16 and 36 since 2002. First-time starters include Mac Jones, Derek Carr, Joe Burrow, Kyler Murray, and Jalen Hurts. Derek Carr will be just the 7th 30-year-old quarterback to make his playoff debut in the last 2 decades. Previous 6 went 2-4 against the spread. Former number 1 picks, Joe Burrow and Kyler Murray, have gone 3-6 against the spread, and in a 6-game stretch, an average loss of 13 points. And then I have another nugget for the cold game. But yeah, so that's something to think about as well. Like for this game, for example, like you can't go, well, both quarterbacks have started, so that kind of gets thrown out the window.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow making their first start, Derek Carr making his first playoff start, so we'll go there.
I want to hit on one player prop real quick in this game that's kind of under the radar here, and that's CJ Uzomah. Amongst those plethora of weapons that Joe Burrow has, Uzomah has kind of carved out a pretty nice role here in games where teams look to take away the outside. And Uzomah's receiving yards prop is currently sitting at 25.5. And now this is more based on what the Raiders have allowed against opposing tight ends. They've now gone 7 straight games giving up 27 or more receiving yards to tight ends. And, traditionally, this team does like to play the outside, try to prevent these wide receivers. And so Joe Burrow, he may be looking to get the ball out to Uzomah, knowing that Max Crosby and company is coming off that end, getting in his face rather quickly. So this could be a potential spot for Joe Mixon receiving props. I like Uzomah, and then those longest yards props for a Jamar Chase or a T. Higgins as well.
Yep. In that same game, at the same position, I like Darren Waller props. I like the receiving yards. If you can get it around 60 or a little bit, 59, 60, 61, anywhere in that range, I think that there's some value there. Darren Waller anytime touchdown plus 180 is interesting. I don't know that I love the receptions just because I don't know that the Raiders will run enough plays to get him to 6 or so receptions. But
Yeah.
the longest reception of 20, 21 and a half, somewhere in that range could be in play too. I could see a long play to Darren Waller over the middle, for 30 yards, and then he gets a couple and 2 or 3 other catches for another 30 yards, 35 yards, catches a touchdown, and you're in business. The other thing I will say is I know T. Higgins returned full in practice, but I think there's some potential. If you think T. Higgins is healthy and he's fine, his number is set really low, 65 and a half, 70 yards, somewhere in that range. Also, 5.5 receptions. A lot of people are gravitating towards Jamar Chase, but that could be in play. And then if you think T. Higgins is not where he needs to be, Tyler Boyd reception props could be a nice way. Obviously Brian mentioned CJ Uzama, who could make some sense stepping up as well. But Tyler Boyd's receiving yards is 41, 42 yards. Like I feel like that's very much in play. His and especially with his receptions, 3.5 under his plus 130s. That means people think he's going to get 4 or more receptions, and that's 10 yards a catch, which Tyler Boyd's not a big time play guy, but has the ability to go for 40
Yep.
yards in a reception.
And he's the chain mover down the seams as well.
Let's shift our focus. Let's talk that night game because there is a lot to get into. I've been fade the Patriots all year. I was tempted to take them. I will say there have been 6 games played at 10 degrees or played below 10 degrees this century. Underdogs are 4-1-1 against the spread in that game, in those games.
Do we have any data on who the participants were in those games?
No, but like one of them was that Vikings Saints game or Vikings Seahawks, where the Vikings ended up advancing. I don't have that though. But yeah, I think the other thing I will say is the Bills have won 1, 2, 3. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 games this year, Brian. I know counting on the podcast is what people turned in for, but the Bills have won 11 games. In all of their 11 wins, they have won by double digits, and their smallest victory has been 12 points. They beat Miami by 35. They beat Houston by 40. They beat Washington by 22. Jacksonville by 28. Not a lot of teams that are really giving you a lot of confidence. But I feel like if you like New England, the money line it should be at least a sprinkle, if not a full bet.
Definitely. I feel like there's only one of two. There's only 2 ways to really bet this game. You're either taking Patriots money line here, because if this is a close game, that means that they're getting to Josh Allen. They're confusing them on offense, and this Patriots defense is doing what they do. And the other side of that is grabbing Buffalo minus the 4. This team has all the building of a potential Super Bowl team. The offense has finally started to kind of click. They've established a running game, which
Devin Singletary is your running game, not Zach Moss. Devin Singletary.
Super weird. Like they've been Matt Breida, Zach Moss, Devin Singletary, Josh Allen. It doesn't matter who the hell's back there for them. For me, I have a clear lean in Buffalo's side here. I've liked them the entire year. I've picked them both times against the Patriots, even in that game, which Buffalo should have won at home with the crazy weather. The Patriots cannot play the similar style. It's going to be really cold, probably some wind, but nowhere near as bad. So the Bills are going to win this game, and I like them covering the 4.
Yeah, and I think that game where it was insanely windy and really cold is in a lot of people's heads. And that's not what this game is going to be. Is it going to be cold?
No.
Yeah, sure. It's going to be cold. And is that not as conducive to passing games? Yeah, it's probably not as conducive. But I think at the end of the day, it'll be fine as long as there's not crazy amounts of wind.
I was just going to say, it's really wind that affects passing. But Josh Allen has a freaking howitzer attached to his shoulder. So
And
it's
he
not
also
like the
played in
wind.
Wyoming, where it's really, really cold.
Exactly.
The one thing I will say is I think the game in the really cold conditions was kind of a good thing for them to see what they can do, what they can't do, and
True.
have a better game plan going into this one, because I think there is a lot of potential. And Josh Allen's played in playoff games before, and well, Mac Jones hasn't, and rookies don't do well. First time playoff guys don't typically do well. And I know it's Bill Belichick, and I know the Patriots have had a great season, and they've kind of come to fruition. And this line is a little bit bigger than I think the previous one, and so that's a little concerning. I don't like seeing that much, like when the teams are pretty much the same. But
yeah, but I feel like sitting at 4 is like right above that home field advantage
yeah.
lay. I mean, it.
And I feel like Buffalo is actually a home field advantage, where some of these other teams don't necessarily have a quote unquote home field advantage. Any props or anything else before we move on to Sunday?
This game is really difficult to gauge from a prop perspective because of the cold weather. I mean, Josh Allen could be running the ball all over the place or passing. There is one that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. If you do think that the Patriots keep this game close, grabbing Damian Williams rush yards props, which is like sitting at 54.5, 55.5, I think makes a ton of sense, because if the Patriots are going to stay in this game, it's going to be via the ground attack and them keeping the ball away from Buffalo. So I think that's one that I'm monitoring as we get closer to maybe. Hopefully, it drops a little bit, but he's kind of one on the Patriots side that I'm looking at.
So is Damian Harris not playing? Because I'm looking at DraftKings as we speak, and I don't see him listed. And in fact, I see Ramondre Stevenson listed, and his prop to the over at 39.5 is minus 125. I feel like I'm missing something there. Because if I go on to FTN prop, it says they have it listed at 56.5, 58.5 over at FanDuel. So that is kind of interesting.
Well, our friends over offshore have Damian Harris and not Ramondre Stevenson.
Interesting.
So
I kind of like the Devin Singletary, 64.5. I kind of like the Josh Allen, 44.5, because if it is a little bit colder and they are running a little bit more, both those guys could be in play for monster days. Let's shift our focus. Let's talk some Sunday football. There's a lot to get into. We'll try and get through these just a little bit faster. We'll start with Sunday morning. Eagles 8.5. There could be a lot of rain here. It could be some wind. It could be kind of a gross game. And with the Bucs coming in banged up, we'll see what Leonard Fournette looks like. Obviously, Mike Evans a little banged up, but no Godwin. Obviously, no Antonio Brown. Is there a world where the Eagles are competitive here?
I think the Eagles could definitely stay in this game. I do worry that, yes, we'd look at the rain as affecting a pass-heavy team more in Tampa Bay, but just like you said, being this is going to be Jalen Hurts' first playoff game, first playoff start, I kind of worry about the ball security with the team that likes to run the ball as much as they do, especially against the Buccaneers team who likes to create turnovers. A lot of their linebackers, Levante David, Shaq Barrett is coming back this week. I think there's a good opportunity for the Bucs to maybe create a few sack fumbles, returns for touchdowns. The defense could get into the end zone. I feel like this is a spot where this could be close early with Tampa pulling away late, which is why I'm leaning laying the points with Tampa. I know I've been on them all year and they've kind of burned me the last 2 weeks, but this is a team led by Tom Brady who knows the regular season, once you've already cemented your spot, really means nothing outside of just getting prepared. Now it's playoff time and they're going to turn it on. So I fully expect the best Bucs that they can potentially put out on the field this week.
Yeah, that's scary. You need to get out of my head, because the Eagles +5 first half seems like a great bet.
Exactly.
I think this is a game much like we saw last week, where it's kind of gross and the teams are feeling each other out, and it's maybe like 13-10 at half.
Yeah.
Maybe the Eagles even are leading. And then all of a sudden it just clicks on the second half, and Leonard Fournette's off and running, and Jalen Hurts fumbled touchdown going the other way, or pick six or something. And all of a sudden it's 37-13, and we're looking at a absolute blowout. And there's gonna be a couple things that happen in this weekend. There's gonna be one or two games that are just 400-14, and there's gonna be a couple games where the team that we had thought had no chance
Yeah.
wins outright. And whether that's Pittsburgh or Philly or maybe Arizona.
I will say, like, in this game, being that I do see Tampa kind of pulling away. I love Devonta Smith props. It's kind of like criminally low right now as receiving yards at 42.5. I mean, this guy is their really only legit threat on the outside. I mean, I cannot start to think that Jalen Reagor is all of a sudden going to reemerge as a real receiving option, or Quez Watkins is going to threaten Tampa here. So getting Devonta Smith at over 42.5 yards, I do think that Tampa will win this and win this convincingly, is a good number in my opinion.
Yeah, I like Dallas Goedert's props, 52, 53, 54, somewhere in that range. I think makes a lot of sense. To score touchdowns, plus 250, plus 240. And you can actually, over at FanDuel, get plus 5. You can get 5-1 odds on him to score a first half touchdown, which I think the Eagles start off well and kind of stink down the stretch. So that could be a nice, like I could see the Eagles having a nice opening drive, Dallas Goedert getting a touchdown, everybody going, oh, here we go, this could be it, and then Brady and company just dump truck them the rest of the way, and we'll laugh about how we thought the Eagles had a chance. So those are some bets. I also like, if you like Tampa, if you can bet it however you want, but I think either taking a piece at 8.5, and then betting it live, or just waiting to bet it live and taking getting the Bucks at 6.5, maybe 4.5, somewhere in there, and really loving life. Next game, let's go to the afternoon game. I think the most compelling game of the slate for me is the San Francisco 49ers heading to Dallas to take on your Cowboys. The line is 3 pretty much everywhere. There is 3.5 at minus 120. There is seeming to be a lot of Cowboy money, and it's kind of, the 3 is going to minus 115, maybe minus 120. So you could potentially get the Niners at 3.5 if you really like them.
Yeah, this was the most terrifying potential matchup for me as a Cowboys fan coming into the playoffs. Even living with a wife who is a Cardinals fan, I would much rather suffer another loss to them, or even another matchup with them. This 49ers team is one that you and I have both talked about numerous times this year as a sleeper to compete for the Super Bowl. We talked about it at the beginning of the show, how this team could make their way into LA playing for the Super Bowl. They're built to beat the Cowboys. If they can give Garoppolo protection from this crazy Cowboys pass rush, like, they are built to complete those short passes with this West Coast style offense and have their rack crew, or whatever the hell they call them, Ayuk,
Yak
Debo.
crew.
Yeah, Yak crew.
After the catch.
Like, just torch this Cowboys defense, who I've been saying it all year. They create turnovers, but they also give up a ton of yards.
So who's a great quarterback to have a team that creates a lot of turnovers off of?
It's Garoppolo, yes.
Jimmy Garoppolo, who will throw you 2 or 3, and if you're able to convert them and potentially turn them into points, Dallas could win this game comfortably. That's
kind of what I was going to say. Like, I feel like this is basically the same scenario as that Bills game that we were talking about, where you're either taking San Francisco money line, or you're laying the points with the Cowboys, and maybe even, getting an alternate line of them minus 6.5, because if the Cowboys are going to play their game, there's there's definitely a possibility they're winning this by double digits. And then on the other side of the spectrum, the 49ers, if they're winning this game, that means that they're playing their offense, they're controlling the clock, they're getting big chunk plays through yak yards. Like, I don't really see this being a game coming down to a field goal by San Francisco. So
I could see it being a late score kind of solidifies it, whether that means the Niners, it's a 2-point game, the Niners score a touchdown, all of a sudden, they go for 2, it's 10, or the Cowboys are up, up 6 or 5 maybe. And they kick a late field goal with about 10 seconds, 15 seconds, and all of a sudden they're up by 8. But yeah, I think I could see this being an incredible game for 3.5 quarters, but the final score not necessarily being indicative of the whole game. But yeah,
especially
I don't see Robbie Gould out there kicking a game-winning field goal
and I don't see the Cowboys trusting the man formerly known as Legatron, who is more like freaking Legotron. His accuracy has definitely fallen by the wayside.
So with that being said, I am taking Niners. Niners +3 and Niners money line will be on my card.
Yeah, I'm in a pool where we have to pick each game every week, and just for my pessimistic Cowboys fanhood and to protect myself, I am also going to be picking the Niners with the points and the Niners money line here, hoping that the Cowboys still win, but they need to play their best game against a team like the 49ers.
Yep. This really is going to come down to which team can assert their dominance and play the way they want to play, because they're very different. And I trust Kyle Shanahan over Mike McCarthy. And honestly, as you were, you kind of alluded to it, like we'll get into the Monday Night Football game here in a minute. But those two teams are the two teams I trust the least, and would love to have Dallas playing the Rams and the Niners playing Arizona. Let's talk about the night game, which is the biggest spread of the weekend. Chiefs -13, -12.5, depending on where you look. This line opened at 13.5. It's down. I think that has more to do with the Chiefs not really being great at covering and whatnot, but I don't understand it.
I don't understand the love affair with Pittsburgh of late. Let me just throw this out there. So the Steelers played 7 games this year against teams that are currently in the playoffs. They went 2-5 in those games. One of their wins was week 1 against the Bills, and their other was against the Titans, who were very injured when they played them. Okay.
Yeah. And the Titans completely shit the bed on that one.
Yeah, they've lost their last 3 road games against teams that are in the playoff, and including a 36-10 loss against the Chiefs. In those 5 losses against these teams, it's by an average margin of over 18 points. Yep. I am confidently laying the 2 touchdowns with Kansas City here, and I'm not looking back.
Football Outsiders DVOA has this team, I think, as the 24th best team behind the Bears, and they have adjusted DVOA, which adjusts for their recent form. They're 26th behind the Jets. That tells you all you need to know. Now, I guess my concern is the Chiefs are up 24-0. They aren't worried one bit about Pittsburgh.
No way.
Derek Gore runs the ball 20 times, and Chase Claypool catches a 70-yard touchdown with no time left on the clock. And it's, I don't know, say it's 24-9. And all of a sudden the touchdown makes it 24-16.
And that's just something for me. I don't see Pittsburgh being able to play a game like that, even getting that garbage touchdown, because in all likelihood, what's going to wind up happening there is Kansas City is going to get a sack fumble or an interception. This offense is not capable.
What if it hits Kelsey in the chest and the secondary picks it off, or TJ Watt hits running back by committee in the backfield, fumble, Steelers pick it up, run the other way?
Yeah, I mean,
But I feel like in those scenarios that puts a little pressure on the Chiefs, and they end up kicking the crap out of them anyways. They don't leave the back door open.
So that's exactly what I think we're going to see here with Andy Reid kind of allowing like Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce, like we said, to take it easy of late. I don't think this team is going to want to screw around here and give Pittsburgh any hope, knowing that they are not the number one seed. They are not the favorites. They've been knocked down a peg here in the AFC. And I really feel like he's going to be on them this week to put the pedal to the metal. And we're going to see the best Chiefs team that we've seen pretty much in a while.
Yeah. I'm trying to find the team total for the whole game because I think there could be some interesting spots here for sure. Let's see.
So KC is sitting at 30.5.
What's the Steelers though?
16.5 for Pittsburgh.
Yeah, see,
like I like the under on Pittsburgh there.
I think I like it. I think I like that number. Because I think there's a world where if it's close, it's low scoring, right? And the Steelers score like it's like 24-13. And if it's a blowout, it's 42-13. Like I don't think this, especially with Big Ben. I also have one other note I want to pull up. Ben Roethlisberger is 0-8 all time in the playoffs when he throws the ball 37 times or more. And he's 13-1 when he throws less than 37 times. This game is set up for Ben Roethlisberger to throw it 45 times for an average throw of like 3 yards.
I was just gonna say exactly.
And they end up losing.
Yeah, that's why I do not see Pittsburgh being able to score fast enough to accumulate points at the rate that is going to be needed to cover the 2 touchdown spread. Because this defense is not capable of slowing down an offense that's ran by a quarterback of Patrick Mahomes' stature. I know TJ Watt is amazing, but one guy isn't going to ruin an offense that is as good as this one.
All right, so 13.5 was the Steelers team total?
16.5 for Pittsburgh.
16.5, perfect. I will take the Chiefs minus 13. I will take the Steelers team total under 16.5. And I'm fully prepared for this to be the game that completely flips everybody's brain and the Steelers win. And the path for the playoffs gets even easier where the Titans, if the Titans can play Pittsburgh and then like, I don't know, some other crappy team in the Super Bowl, that would make me very, very happy.
You mean like one of these crappy teams we're about to talk about?
Let's go to Monday and talk about the game that I don't trust either of these teams as far as I can throw them. The thing I will say is Arizona, when they want us to buy in, completely falls apart. And when we think they're toast and have no shot, stand up and perform well. I don't think the Rams are good. I think Matthew Stafford is not the quarterback that his numbers and probably Hall of Fame case will make him out to be. And it sounds like we're getting, at least in some form, J.J. Watt this weekend. Which, if that's
but how much of an impact is he going to make?
But the way the impact that happened, like, because even when he was like quote unquote healthy and playing, he wasn't playing 100% of the snaps, anyways.
No,
I think he could be in there at key times. I think, whether it's whatever they end up trotting out at running back, and then obviously Cooper Kupp will be incredible. But can anyone else step up for the Rams? I don't think so. And as long as Kyler Murray doesn't make a bad throw to Jalen Ramsey, I'm taking Arizona here and plus the 4, and I will be very happy with that.
Yeah, that's funny because this is the first time all year that I've really kind of been off Arizona. I worry about their offense without a guy like DeAndre Hopkins. I know they've been operating fairly good, and AJ Green has been putting up good numbers, but he's not the same guy that he was. He does not threaten defenses the way that he used to. Jalen Ramsey, if he's put on him, will have a field day against him. I actually expect the Rams to maybe put Ramsey on Zach Ertz
Yeah,
some
just
plays here,
a
knowing that he's kind of his
wild
safety
statement to
valve.
make in 2022. I also think Arizona from an offensive perspective is very similar to the Rams, except for they don't have a Cooper Kupp to lean on.
And of course, Kyler Murray's escapability is something that
Yeah,
is
I
not
guess, and it depends
replicated.
on how healthy is Kyler Murray. Is
Yeah.
he healthy? Is he able to move? Is he able to throw? Then obviously he can win this game. If he is hampered and broken and his shoulder's a mess, there will be definite issues. But I think there is a possibility. I don't know. I just trust it. I don't like either of these teams, so I'll take the 4 points with the team getting them. I think they go on the road. I think this is one of your upsets, and I think they because a lot of people don't think Arizona's any good, and they think the Rams are good. I think this is a spot where they kind of stun the world and step up on Monday Night Football, which
Yeah,
for playoffs is weird.
I definitely think that this is probably the matchup with the two teams that are the biggest wild cards in the NFC
100%.
because it depends on which one of them decides to show up on both sides. Like, is it the good Arizona team or the bad Arizona team? Are the Rams? Is the Rams offense going to look like it has the last couple of weeks, or is it going to be middling and
Yeah, is
mediocrity?
Arizona the Steelers from last year where they were on fire and then collapsed down the stretch and then got absolutely pantsed in the playoffs? Or does the good Arizona bounce back and become a team that all of a sudden is playing for the Super Bowl? Because, like, especially in the NFC, like, I think if either of these teams came out of the NFC, I can't say I would be completely shocked.
Like we said, the NFC is the biggest crapshoot this year because
Yeah.
all of these teams have shown the ability to play at an upper tier level. So
Yeah.
if any of these teams, outside of Philly, maybe, if any of the top 6 seeds from the NFC make it to the Super Bowl, I legitimately won't be surprised. That said, this Monday night game, I'm probably leaning on the Rams money line. It's a little bit too hefty of a price right now. It's like pretty close to minus 200, so I probably won't be betting that, but this will probably just be a sit back and watch and hope the Cardinals win for the sake of my wife's sanity.
The one thing I will say, all of these lines are getting a ton of bets. The money has come in. They have settled for the most part where they're
Yeah.
going to be. Um, the thing about the NFL is, like, the NFL is one of the sharpest, especially now where you can bet so many different places.
Oh
It's one
yeah.
of the sharpest markets, one of the hardest plays to find an advantage. And when you don't have a Lions or a Jaguars or a Texans team getting too many points, or a side that maybe is a little more banged up than people realize, or something like that, it's really hard. So don't blow your bankroll trying to bet on games that you think you may have an edge on. Like, that being
Yeah.
said, I've made 4 bets already this week, and I'll probably make a few more. So I'm not exactly heeding my own advice, so I don't blame anyone. If you want to go nuts, bet every single game, go have a wild ride. But I would say, yeah, don't be careful, because weird stuff happens in these
Yes.
especially in the wild card round,
Especially in the wild card round.
and then you're stuck holding a bunch of tickets that you have to throw in the trash. Let's talk teaser targets, and then we'll have you run yours. We'll hit best bets, and we'll get out of here. It's running obviously a little longer, despite only having 7 games, 6 games. I don't know.
Games.
But we have a lot to talk about and a lot of interesting things. So, I think from a teaser perspective, in terms of sides, there isn't a ton of spots to go. I think the Bengals would have been interesting if it stayed at 6.5. It's
Yep.
not. I think getting the Raiders up to 12 is not terrible, but I could see the Bengals, dusting them and blowing them out, and then you're stuck holding the bag. I think the Patriots are kind of like the Raiders, where I think getting them to double digits. I think if you get them through 7, get them through 10, you're loving life. But the Bills could also win 41-14. I think the best teaser legs to take a look at is Philly and Tampa. I think, depending on where you like there, obviously,
Yep.
I think the Bucks as on a 7-point tease is going to be one of the most popular bets, along with the Chiefs. I would try and keep your teaser cards to 2 or 3 teams and do a bunch of
Yeah.
them.
Don't get crazy like I
yeah,
do.
yeah. I think Tampa KC, not that they can't win, but will be one of the most popular. I think Arizona and the Niners are probably two of my favorites. Arizona, you can get through 7, through 10. Anytime you can get through two key numbers like that, it's a huge hit. Even if at one of the at FanDuel it's 3.5, it still gets you through 7, still gets you through 10. If you do a 7-point tease, that could be fun. And even Pittsburgh, like 13, you think, oh, I'll take them up to 20, but like they could
That's
lose that
scary
game by
still.
30 points. Like that's not
Yeah.
insane. So, where is your head going at for your teaser card, and which teams are jumping out to you?
Well, the first one that I was looking at was that Raiders Bengals game. I was really looking at totals here because, like you said, the lines are pretty well set for these games.
Yeah.
Taking a look at that Raiders game, although I like the Bengals, which should indicate a little bit of a higher scoring contest, I like teasing this up and taking the under with the expectation that the Raiders aren't quite able to get their ground game going early, which to me would indicate a lower scoring first half and would hopefully keep this under 54.5. The next one, also teasing the Bills and the Patriots up and taking the under, because even though this matchup got over 50, I think the last time these two played, this is really going to be a contest where New England is going to make a very concerted effort to keep the ball on the ground, and Buffalo's recent reintegration of the running game per se should help keep this a little bit lower scoring than we've seen in past Bills matchups. So I like teasing this up to 50, taking the under. The only side I'm on here is teasing the Patriot or not the Patriots. He doesn't play there anymore. The Buccaneers down to 2.5. And yes, this is a 6-point tease. Getting the Bucks at under 3 here at a home contest against the Eagles. I fully expect Tampa to cover that 8, but getting that reassurance of that extra 6 points in a game that could be sloppy is really nice. And then the 49ers and the Cowboys game, teasing this down to 45 and taking the over, to me makes way too much sense, because whether San Francisco's winning and Dallas is playing comeback, you're going to see a lot of throws, a lot of desperation plays towards the end of the game where you could see a lot of points. And San Francisco has shown the ability to put points on the board of late.
Yep.
The Cowboys defense lets teams move inside the 20s.
And I think both defenses have the ability to put points on the board, and special teams for that matter, which always, I could see Jimmy throwing a pick six. I could see Zeke or Pollard getting hit by Fred Warner and the ball on the ground, and Nick Bosa
or Pollard returning a kickoff for a touchdown.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few. Brandon Ayuk punt return for a touchdown. There's a few ways for points. I think that makes sense. I also like taking that total, going up 7 points and teasing the under and taking under like 57 and a half.
Trying to middle that.
Because I think it really is going to fall kind of in that like 45, 48 range.
I was going to say like 40. If I had to pick a total for the game, I'd be like right around that 48, 49 range.
Because even like in a Dallas blowout, it's like 31-13 because Jimmy's played like shit and Trey Lance tries to rescue him. Or the other way is the Niners run the.
It's going to be like a 27-24 or 23 game.
Yeah. Okay, Brian, we did it. We made it through all the games. We talked some teas. We threw in some props. We gave you everything you need to know. But that leaves one thing and one thing only, Brian. Give me your best bet for the first round, the wild card round of the NFL playoffs.
I'm going with the one that I was most confident with. Kansas City, -13. I think they're going to absolutely truck Pittsburgh and go against last year's version of the team that I thought was going to be really good in Pittsburgh. So I like the Chiefs -13 as my wild card best bet.
Yeah, I think that makes sense. There's really two options, and I'm going to take the one where I'm getting points rather than laying points, and I'm going to take the Niners plus the 3. I think the Niners go on the road. I think this is the start of a special run for them. I think Jimmy G has a real chance at winning a Super Bowl for this team, and potentially playing, whether it's New Orleans or Pittsburgh or Cleveland or something else next year. I think the Niners could absolutely, especially if Trent Williams is healthy, that defense is healthy, and they're able to run the ball with Eli Mitchell. I think they can make a deep run. I think it starts this week. Niners +3 is my best bet.
Right in the face of the Cowboys fan.
If you made it this far, really appreciate you hopping through.
Yes,
I will
thank you.
try and cut these up so you can segment them out. We will be back for the divisional round where my Titans will be coming in. It'll be interesting to see who we play. But Brian, enjoy Saturday, enjoy Sunday, enjoy Monday. We have a plethora of fun games to dive into. That's Brian Twining. I'm Kyle Robert. If you made it this far, smash the thumbs up, hit subscribe, do all the things. Let us know down in the comments who you like for the Super Bowl, and we'll talk to you guys next time.